This is how we do it. This is how we do it.
Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all good. I'm joined by two very special guests today. Introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Sheryl, Leah's mum and business partner.
I'm Lesley. I was about to say a sister from a different mister, but a friend.
Yeah.
Chopping up
Yeah,
friends
like
of
family.
the family.
Yeah.
I mean, they've both been on my channel before. I'll make sure I leave links in the description bar below. So today we're going to be discussing passive income and whether it exists really, like at all. Right?
Oh, do you want to start, Lesley?
Yeah, Lesley, go first.
I'm just thinking about all the different businesses and investments us as a family have made. It does exist. It depends what you invest in, really. But the most passive, where I would say we don't get bothered, is single let investment or commercial,
Yeah.
where it's rented out to a long-term tenant on the retail side. Yeah, we just don't get hassled, or bothered. Like, there's other management agencies involved, but the more creative strategies such as service accommodation, your rent to rents, your HMOs, we've got our own team that does it. But I wouldn't say it's passive. There still needs like my involvement or our involvement to some level.
Yeah.
So but I think it's just systemizing the business better. And I just don't think service accommodation, I'm trying to think about it, because there are three ways you can do it. You outsource all the management to a property management company. You are partially involved in it, so some stuff is outsourced but you are still involved, or you're fully involved, so you're running the whole show. It just depends what kind of investor you want to be. Whether you want to maximize it, so you have it, run it as your own business, or you find ways to outsource the management but you might not get the higher returns.
Yeah.
Right.
What do you think?
I mean, the whole passive income thing, I mean, it's interesting because some people are saying actually now that to get passive income you have to put a lot of work up front. So even if it's, buying a deal or something, even if it's a single let, so there's always an element of work in it, even if it's that you've managed to acquire an asset that then generates an income afterwards. But you're right, Lesley, I think in terms of what's the level of effort of work that it takes afterwards. And I was thinking about this the other day. I was saying to Leah, there's probably an order of most to least passive.
Yes.
So what, would you say the least passive was the commercial ones that you mentioned?
Most passive.
Most passive, exactly. Most passive commercial, and then single lets.
And then single lets. And then I would say HMOs. And at the other end of the spectrum in property, you've got service accommodation. But it just depends how you run your business. Because when you're starting off, unless you have quite a lot of money to invest, I would say that you're probably going to be going for the more management intensive strategies.
You'll be hands-on.
So it's going to be really hands-on. Great way to learn, but it might not. It depends whether you want to stay it or not. If you don't want to run a business dealing with property, then I would say it would be sensible to opt for a more so less sexy strategy, but it's the income's still great. Like Trevor has a lot of single lets. He loves that strategy because it's long-term growth and it's stable and steady. So it works really well for him. I think it's important to maybe have a mixed bag of everything really at some point when you're growing.
What do you think then?
I feel like passive income does exist, but not the way that people think it does. Like, I feel like at the minute there's a lot of people that kind of assume that if you put £2,000 into an apartment, put it on booking.com, put it on Airbnb, that all of a sudden the money will just come back to them and they'll just go and live in Dubai and not contact anyone, and they'll just have this asset making the money.
It's very little. I
feel like that's what people say. I feel like people have that perception.
I mean, certainly passive income you wouldn't probably use in the same sentence as service accommodation a lot, because I think most people do know it's at the other end, unless you've completely outsourced the property management. But then I always say that even once you've outsourced it, you can't outsource your responsibility as a company director, so you're still on the hook for if there are any issue, if there are any serious issues in that property, because it's a business.
Yeah.
As the director of that business, you're still, you're kind of still responsible for it.
Sorry, she reminded me of something in her comment, because I'm thinking about 2K service accommodation. 2K, that's right. That's really, like, if you can do a lot with that, that'd be amazing. I know one person who's done a lot with that.
Yeah.
As in did an amazing job on £300 budget.
Wow.
Yeah, she's like amazing.
That's an interesting point to talk about there, because I know we've got a view in terms of how much it cost us to set up each.
For us, it's like about 5k per property.
Yeah, and our I guess our flagship ones, which we did to quite a high standard,
They're
like coffee
amazing.
machines and
Yeah.
we spent on average about 6 to 7k, but that included CCTV outside the lots
Really,
of things.
yeah.
But yeah, it's not cheap. It's definitely not no money down.
No, and
Yeah.
the
It's
reason
mo
why-
money down.
The reason why I was thinking about the 2k and then I was laughing is because I had a phone call with somebody who was interested in some training, okay, with Rent SA, and then obviously there was a discussion on the price with the training, the masterclass.
Yeah.
But the bit that then came about in terms of, then she remembered she actually needed to have some money to put aside for the rent deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I think that came as a shock, because I was talking to her about it, and that just made me chuckle a bit, because I think that people forget that you need to
So what do we think
Yeah.
about
money.
no money down, like property deals?
I think no money down is a marketing term, right? That doesn't
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
exist.
It's it is spin. It's marketing spin.
Mhm,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
doesn't really exist. The
Yeah.
lowest money down kind of strategy is probably sourcing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You do need to set up properly though, so there's
Yeah.
costs involved that set up and being compliant.
Yeah.
The only other thing I think of is being a management agency and you manage other
Yeah.
people's
You're just the
properties,
middle.
Yeah.
but you still
Yeah.
also need to set up and have. So I think you need to be putting about 1,000 aside
Yeah.
for that.
Mhm.
And what's interesting about those types, because obviously sometimes people are looking for what's the cheapest way to get into it, because they want to get into property, they've got no money, so deal sourcing or something like that, which is great. It's remembering that they're not passive, and it's remembering actually something like deal sourcing is actually quite time intensive. I think people forget that.
Yeah, it's like a full-time thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a good starting point for
Mm-hmm.
beginners is possibly to get a job at a real estate agency,
Mm.
because they will build up their contacts, their connections, understand property a bit more.
Yeah.
Especially, and also if you don't have any funds to do
Mm-hmm.
property training.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you can get a job
Yeah.
in the industry, that's fantastic, because you're getting trained.
Yeah.
In the agency, and you're also building up your credit score, because it's a job, so you're getting a salary, and therefore will put you in a position if you want to purchase at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So all I'm saying is that
Yeah.
a job is not a bad thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Because at the end of the day, it really depends on what it is that you want, why you're going into property. And if it's, say, for example, if it's financial freedom that you're going for, what is it that you want to do with that freedom? How are you planning to spend your time? Because, creating a really, a massive salary from deal sourcing, if that's what you want to do, is absolutely fine. But that is not going to be passive. That's going to be you on the road all the time. So actually,
Yes, it's
do
a lot
you
of work.
love it so much that you want to then, make that your job, which is fine if that's what you want to do, but people need to go into it eyes wide open.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
I think so. Otherwise, you're going to end up bitter and resentful, and it's nothing to do with the
Yeah.
strategy. It's just
And trying to
because
see your
It just
training
wasn't your
company.
thing. Yeah.
yeah, but it's just your expectations.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
We're not
that's
there.
it. Yeah.
Because we
Yeah.
had someone ask the other day about if sourcing was passive.
Yeah.
It's like, but you have to go on viewings and
Yeah.
stuff. Like,
I think it's
Yeah.
maybe the way it's marketed, as in
Yeah.
you can get runners and stuff, but don't do that. If you're going to source a property, you need to go and see it yourself.
yeah.
Right? Just be do the best that you can, because
Yeah.
imagine, I know someone else has said this, imagine it's someone in your family that's buying that deal.
Mm.
So imagine it's your mum or your grandmother, and would you actually sell on a deal that you've never seen?
Yeah.
Yeah, based on a runner, unless you could trust that runner
Yeah.
to and they need to be trained up as
Yeah.
well, in my opinion. But you need to go and make sure
Yeah.
you have a responsibility there. If you're
Yeah.
taking money, that you perform your services like to the best capacity possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, something that I heard somebody saying, it might even have been Trevor actually,
Is
is
it?
I think he said something like, never become a motivated buyer, right?
Yes.
And there's something, I would almost when I think about some of the other strategies like deal sourcing, I would just almost say, don't become so desperate that you will do silly things, if that makes sense. Don't
sell your soul for money.
Don't, yeah, just don't become so desperate that you kind of lose clarity about why you're doing it in the first place, because that's when you start to kind of make silly decisions, and you don't see the fact that actually a service department is going to take you days and days to set up if you're doing it yourself. Those things are all reality, and yes, there's some marketing spin that's out there around how it's sold, but actually if you take away the desperation and just use your common sense, you can see for yourself that these things are going to take a bit of work.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And I also think there's something about creativity, because I think rather than just being desperate for the latest strategy that everybody's jumping on, kind of maybe be creative and look at your own situation in terms of where do you live, what skills have you got, what do you enjoy doing, and create a strategy that works for you.
Yeah.
For your
lifestyle.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, it's just going to suck. You may as well just get a 9 to 5.
Yeah.
We're only speaking from
it's got to
experience.
work for you. I love, for example, like Emmanuel's essay strategy. Emmanuel, who's
Shout out Emmanuel.
What's Emmanuel's essay strategy? I don't know.
His essay strategy is very much, so he's got property managers, but his strategy is very much disaggregated. So he's got one apartment over here, one over here. So actually his risk is very spread, which is so clever.
So he's got it over different cities.
Yeah. So even just that as a strategy, is quite different to what I've seen kind of other people doing. And I just think as people getting into property, just be creative with it. Think about what works for you, what works for your lifestyle, why you're getting into it, what you're trying to create from it.
And we were saying before about kind of the economics of the property market, and about how, I guess, with serviced accommodation, if everybody's kind of jumping on the same bandwagon and everybody wants to get into it, then eventually the demand is going to go. People aren't going to need to book your apartment.
But saying that, apparently serviced accommodation and apartments is only 5% of the property investing strategy in terms of as a strategy. Apparently that's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
But however, it's quite niche, I would say, still, even though there's people jumping on. But however, within its niche, how saturated is it getting?
Exactly.
Right?
And what's the supply in that market for for those types of stays? I think that's what people have to really understand the market. So are you in an area? But it's the same with HMO and whatever your strategies. Which is a good one. Understand the market that you're in. So are there lots of student properties being built and all that? Because all of that will affect your passive income or your income generating potential.
I think as well, if you are gonna start something that's kind of low barrier to entry, so rent to rent is kind of you don't have loads of obstacles. If you are going to start something like that, then I think people need to look at how can they stand out and do something different. So my friend Ashley from Urban Homes, they source properties and they manage and do interior design. So they've almost taken
a package.
They've taken the basic thing and stepped it up a little bit, because otherwise I think there'll be so many sources, rent to renters, things like that. So I think
it's an interesting topic, right?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, for sure.
I think rent to rent's never going to die as a strategy.
Do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. It's been around for ages.
Yeah,
but it's an industry term, isn't it? A lot of people don't know what what you're talking about.
I guess
it's been around for ages.
Just now it's become really popular. As a strategy.
I guess there will always be a market for it. There will always be landlords that have an asset that they're not making the most of, potentially. Do you know what I mean? So there'll potentially always be some margin there. So even if say, for example, say in some of the cities now, some of the estate agents are putting the rents up if they know it's a corporate let, because they know somebody's potentially doing SA. But there will still always be landlords in that city that aren't that savvy where the margins are. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, for example, Trevor, I'll use Trevor as an example. He's got loads of properties. I can't remember how much it is, but he had a substantial portfolio that he set up his own lettings agency, but then that didn't quite work out because there was someone who left and she was supposed to be managing, and Trevor found that it was easier to palm it all off to a rent-to-rent operator. You've got this massive portfolio now of his.
Right.
Yeah.
So there could be some, and he's just happy with because he still makes his margin
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah, yeah.
On a buy-to-let kind
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
rental.
Yeah.
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 So I think it's still around because there are just
Yeah.
depending. Oh, it's difficult, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
'Cause I'm just thinking because he doesn't want anything to do with the management.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
given like them a 10-year lease or something
Yeah.
like that.
And he just wants to return.
Yeah, he doesn't want to know anything about the maintenance. That's all on them.
Yeah.
He's probably given them a very good price for
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
rentals and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It has its place.
Mm,
Rent to rent.
yeah.
Yeah, so I think it will still be there because
Yeah.
I did it since 2013
Yeah.
Wow.
in Dubai.
You did it
and I'm
before
still
it was
doing
trendy.
Yeah.
I know. I didn't even know what it was called there. Just
You're
like-
a trailblazer, Lesley.
No, but I think it's around. It's just like
Yeah.
instead of them paying room rent by rent, it is, for example, if you're thinking about students, taking a whole house and then
Yeah,
renting
and
the
then
rooms out for
finding
their
friends and stuff.
Yeah,
But
Yeah.
they probably, some of them, if they're not savvy enough,
Yeah.
which is like what I would have done at that age, is I probably just would have split the rent.
Yeah, rather than
equally,
making
Yeah, yeah.
a
as
profit.
opposed to, hey, let me set the room up and. You know,
Yeah.
but I think if you're a student, that could be a great
Mm,
place to start.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
because then that income can pay for your rent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
you might have a bit left over, and you start with managing
Yeah.
property.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Well, some students do that with their mortgage, don't they? Like their parents
they?
sometimes. Yeah.
That's
So a parent
fantastic.
might buy a house in the town that they're
Yeah.
studying. And then then they rent the other rooms out to friends, and which then covers the mortgage, which is the way of getting the student onto the property ladder.
I think that's
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah.
I think I would want to do that for Matteo.
Yeah.
If he wants to go to uni, though,
Yeah.
I'm not too fussed if he didn't.
Yeah.
No.
Maybe his
Yeah.
dad might have an issue though.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think that's a great way. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Definitely.
I think explore multiple streams of income.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, and I guess, and it was interesting you talked about your businesses, because I think actually there is something about, and the systemising, if you can systemise your business, in particular something like an SA business, where you've grown yours to such scale
Yeah.
and systemised it, you're at the stage where you can easily go away, go on holiday, and the money's still running in, which if you can't get that systems right, and you can't get completely hands off, like we've definitely had some holidays where we've still had the odd occasional call, and then you know that it's not passive, because if you can't go away and leave the business, then you haven't really created a business, have you? You're
Yeah.
still involved.
No, so actually I was talking about one of my other businesses, the training business, right, Cash Flow Freedom. But if something happened to me in Trevor, that one, it wouldn't be passive
Yeah.
Yeah.
because that would just stop,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Which is a bit worrying. So we need to have a think about
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. I guess
But- Yeah.
it takes time to build like the actual passive income where you can
It
say,
does.
okay.
I don't think. I think you should work hard, play hard.
Mhm.
Yeah, because you should definitely have some time out to go on your holidays and relax and try not to do any business stuff. I know it's hard when you're an entrepreneur, but I'm sure that other like Bill Gates, Rich Branson, I'm sure they work really, really hard to be where they're at now.
Mhm.
Yeah. And also, guys, don't be afraid. So one of my biggest things for 2020, don't be afraid to reach out to other business consultants who can help. Sorry, amazing.
You're cut off.
Oh, my head, I've had this. Yeah, who can help your business grow.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you might be stuck at one level.
Yeah.
Yeah, you probably need somebody to come in and look at the business from an objective perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah, to see where you want to be going.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because one of the conversations I was having is, okay, we've got X amount of units now. Are we aiming to get to 1,000?
Yeah.
That's that's a question for the management team that I've got that we need to discuss. Yeah, so where are you going to go with your business?
Yeah.
And what's your exit strategy?
Yeah.
So guys, I hope you enjoyed our little property conversation. If there's any other topics you want us to cover, then please let us know. But thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram at Leah_Miller, and I'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
This is how we do it. This is how we do it. Sa-la-la-la-la-la. This is how we do it. Sa-la-la-la-la. This is how we do it. It's Friday.